Hello and welcome. I'm Patricia Emerson, the host of Shelf Life, where I share the best in young adult literature for teens, teachers, and adults of all ages. I hope you'll find your next great read right here. In this edition, the books I'm featuring have garnered a lot of attention and praise. This buzz is justified. For today's edition, I'm featuring Ibizoboy's American Street, Shaka Senghor's Life, Death, and Redemption in an American Prison, Dear Martin by Nick Stone, Green by Sam Graham Felsen, finally, John Green's Turtles All the Way Down. Fabiola and her mother have left Haiti for the United States, hoping for a new life. They have their papers and they're on their way to Detroit, where Fab's cousins and aunt live in the house where she was born, the home she left behind as an infant when her mother overstayed her visa to guarantee her daughter's citizenship. When her mother is detained upon their re-entry by customs at JFK, Fabiola must go on to Detroit alone, navigate this foreign city alone, and high school alone. Detroit, her cousin Chantal, Donna, and Pin, her Aunt Jo, nothing is as she'd imagined. Like Haiti, Detroit has its own mean streets. Haiti, my mother, my cousins, my aunt, the house, school, Kasim, the detective, Dre, America, comes to a boil, sizzling and popping and oozing hot red lava. I clench my fist and punch her in the face. She punches me back. Then the punches come fast and hard. I've been here before, fighting when someone tries to steal my money, fighting when someone tries to cheat my mother out of her money, fighting jealous girls, fighting boys off me, fighting men off my mother, fighting. Yes, there's some violence here, but there's magic here in Ibizoboy's debut novel, American Street. Not the voodoo of black magic and curses, but the support of spirits who have accompanied Fabiola to this new land and who have supported her. At its heart, American Street is a suspense-filled, fast-paced story with strong and complex characters whose decisions put them in danger as surely as they guarantee their survival. Detroit is also the home of Shaka Senghor in his memoir, Righting My Wrongs, Life, Death, and Redemption in an American Prison. At age 11, Shaka Senghor's life begins to unravel as his parents experience divorce. It coincides with the 1980s crack epidemic that wreaks havoc and destruction in Detroit. This grabs this young boy in a fierce hold that takes him on a detour that he could never have predicted. Dealing gives him this false security that he suffers for. But when he's shot at 17, he says, throughout that whole ordeal, no one hugged me, no one counseled me or told me that everything would be okay. No one came to talk to me and explain all of the emotions I was feeling. No one told me that if I didn't find a way to deal with the fear I felt, I would become paranoid. So I coped the only way I knew how. I became angry, and for the first time in my life, I began carrying a gun with me everywhere where I went. 14 months later, I would be the one pulling the trigger. At 19, he's on the other end of a gun, and when he pulls the trigger, he winds up in jail for 19 years for murder. Prison is an unlikely setting for salvation, but reading and writing and finally confronting his responsibility and his guilt gives him a second chance. How will he make this opportunity that has cost him so much worth the price he's paid? Shaka Senghor's Righting My Wrongs, Life, Death, and Redemption in an American Prison. I need to pay more attention, Martin. Start really seeing stuff and writing it down. Figure out what to do with it. That's why I'm writing to you. You faced way worse stuff than sitting in handcuffs for a few hours, but you stuck to your guns. Well, your lack thereof, actually. And I want to try to live like you. Do what you would do. See where it gets me. So Justice McAllister begins his to be like Martin experiment after being arrested for no reason except for circumstance and the color of his skin. Justice, a senior scholarship student at Brazelton Prep, key member of the prestigious debate team and top student on his way to Yale, must confront prejudice that he wishes he could ignore. Nick Stone paints a stirring and real narrative of life in conflict and a young man who only wants to do the right thing when the right thing is not always easy to do and not even easy to determine. Dear Martin personalizes Justice's struggle for all of us who seek understanding and asks, is it worth it to rock the boat? Do we have an obligation to speak up when silence would be easier and safer? Green, Sam Graham Felson's first young adult novel, introduces the funny, smart, insecure, and brutally, hilariously honest David Greenfeld, Green. Dave enters King Middle School as a 6th grader in Boston. It's 1992, and he is one of 2 only white children attending that school. He has pleaded with his parents to send him to a private school, but they believe in public education, and his parents have little extra money to spare. Pressure is on Dave from the year's start to do well on the test that will gain him admission to Latin, the prestigious alternative, and Dave is buckling. This is his only way out. He also has a very unique family that shapes who he is. Cramps is my grumpy-ass grandfather. When I was little, I called him Cramps instead of Gramps by accident, and he thought it was hilarious, so the name stuck. Cramps has 2 modes, joking or not at all joking. 1 second we're trading puns or doing comedies, everything from the Marx Brothers to Bill and Ted. Next, he's screaming in my face about the Holocaust and how I need to study harder. He's been sweating me nonstop about test prep to get into Latin, how Latin's a feeder school for Harvard. Now he wants me to go there to make up for Pops dropping out. Despite having a 12-year-old narrator and certainly appealing to middle school readers, high school readers won't want to miss this book. They'll nod their heads ruefully at Dave's exploits, cringeworthy, and this will appeal to high school readers as well because they have the perspective to remember what middle school was like. Finally, Turtles All the Way Down is John Green's eagerly awaited follow-up novel to The Fault in Our Stars. Asa, the main character, suffers from anxiety and depression, and she explains it this way to her best forever friend, Daisy. There's no self to hate. It's like when I look into myself, there's no actual me. Just a bunch of thoughts and behaviors and circumstances, and a lot of them don't feel like they're mine. They're not things I want to think or do or whatever. And when I look for like the real me, I never find it. It's like those nesting dolls, you know? The ones that are hollow, and then when you open them up, there's a smaller doll inside, and you keep opening hollow dolls until eventually you get to the smallest one and it's solid all the way through. But with me, I don't think there is one that's solid. They just keep getting smaller. When a local billionaire disappears, Asa reconnects with his son, a friend from childhood. Asa and the fearless Daisy go on a quest to obtain the $100,000 reward and solve this disappearance. A mystery? Definitely. An exploration of teen angst? Most certainly. A tribute to friendship in all its forms? Without a doubt. All this and more, Turtles All the Way Down, will keep you thinking long after you have reluctantly turned the last page. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Shelf Life. I certainly hope the buzz has resonated with you and that you'll find your next great read among these titles. See you again soon.